Hello, welcome to the 145th episode of my podcast, Currency. I can't get my hair right because the person who last cut my hair didn't cut it in the most ideal fashion. Have you ever had that happen before? Sometimes you get a haircut that wasn't exactly what you wanted. I've been down that road, and that makes me relatable, and that makes it so that people are like, oh, I've experienced that too. I've shared experiences with that guy that is talking, that I'm listening to, or that I see. You can watch this podcast, Currency, on YouTube or on Rumble. I am slowly uploading all of these videos onto Rumble, and I have, I think, 9,000 listens on my on my page where I host it, on like the Spotify page I host it. But this the podcast has more listens than that because I used to host it on SoundCloud, and I essentially lost all of those listens, and there were multiple thousand of those listens when it was on SoundCloud that don't register when I switched over. I believe is what happened. Um, Besides that, I do have thousands of views also on the video, and I have a number of views on Rumble as well. And so, it's not a podcast that nobody views. I know that you might log it. You might see my YouTube channel and see all these videos that just have 5 views or whatever. And then you're like, nobody watches this. But contrary to what you might think, there's more people that hear it. My presence is felt, and that's undeniable, and that's what I'm here to communicate, and that's all that is all that I was here to communicate, is the propaganda for myself, for my mission, um, for me in life. Like it's a cash grab. I'll tell you that. Not that I have made ginormous sums of money. I don't. There aren't mountains of cash that resulted from me recording myself on this podcast. There aren't mountains of cash as a result of this podcast, like related to the podcast. There are mountains of cash somewhere that somebody owns. I have not gained mountains worth of cash, but it's a cash grab. Matt Connor is a cash grab, you know? That whole thing, that is. It's just a big cash grab. You try to consume that commodity, and what you find is that it's just a big advertising bullshit campaign, and that's what I like about it. That's what I love about it. What I love about myself is the propaganda, the bullshit, you know. And here's something that I thought of recently that is no small point. Okay, just like very many of the things that I say on this podcast. Um, just here's another original take for you to take things away from, and you can even steal from it and use it in your own life like it's your own thing. Like, think of all of the in the many hours that I've recorded myself, all the original things that you could steal from me and just tell other people, and because like it's not like anybody knows that it came from me, uh, me the person talking. So you can, a lot of the time, because I'm not big enough yet, so like steal it while you can. But it'll get back to you eventually because um, this podcast will blow up so much like a volcano that it'll be volcanic like Hawaii. You'll be like, am I in Honolulu right now? Am I on the Big Island? Like, am I on you? You'll be confusing your location with the Big Island, um, Waikiki, all of that shit, whatever it is, all of those vowel words that are going on over there in that middle of the Pacific island chain that we refer to as what is it again? Hawaii, the Hawaiians. It's just a cash grab. That's what I like about it. It's the marketing, you know, the greasiness, the con, the grift. That's what I like about it. Um, but here's what I was gonna say that I led into before I went into a useless time filling spiel. which is really one of the issues that I can improve on. But I'm going into another one right now. Do you see how aware I am? Do you see how I recognize and then put words to the situation, and not Mike the situation from Jersey Shore? This situation, but it's I bet marketing is important, as you can see, because now whatever situation you're in, it's not like you can declare that to be the situation, because the situation is actually somebody's six pack abs in the world, which don't even exist anymore. I don't think Mike the situation maintained his abs to 2024. That would be surprising if he was able to do that. So now the situation is, I mean, but it's still, the situation is his abs. It doesn't matter what situation you're in. You're not like, oh, this is the situation. The situation has already been taken. That's how marketing works. It's how branding works. Um, that's how it works. But and you might have thought that your favorite father and son was Jesus Christ and God the Father. It's not. It's the Costco guys, because they took that. Nobody else was using that, and so they got it. And now, so it's not Jesus and God the Father. They had like 2,000 years to incorporate that into their brand, but they didn't take it. So now it's the Costco guys. Um, what? It's theirs now. They got it. That's your favorite father and son, whether you like it or not. No boo-hoos about it. No, I don't want to hear any crying. But what I was going to say is that bullshit. I wanted to take an aside and lecture you about bullshit. I learned maybe you guys are lacking in manners. Maybe you were looking for infusing of manners into your life, into your daily routine, into your day to day. Maybe you felt like, God, I wish I hear some lessons or some manners given to me by a knowledgeable source, or a at least presumably knowledgeable source, somebody pretending to have knowledge. I wish that somebody who had confidence in their own knowledge, pretending to have popular knowledge, would tell me a set of manners. Okay, I'm filling time again. I'm sorry about that. It's not that. Okay. I wanted to teach you a lesson about bullshit, which is that you can declare something to be bullshit, but look at what bullshit is. Uh it's universal, and it has practical use for manure. Like, people use bullshit. It has People use bullshit. It's everywhere. I forget what else I was going to say about it besides that it's useful, but that's the main thing. Is that, well, actually bullshit is useful for manure. Um and it's like always around, and it has practical use. I forget what the rest of the gist of it was, but anyway, so you could say, oh, that's bullshit, but it's not. Like, bullshit is not nothing in real life, as long as we're taking it literally. Like, bullshit is something to be taken seriously, actually, because there's industries built around it. Like, cow shit is used as manure, and cows are bulls, and that's a purpose-driven life. That's part of a purpose-driven life of my purposes, for my purposes. Um, yeah. Advertising. I like the campaign. I'm on the campaign. I'm the president of this. I'm the president of something. But when you videotape yourself and then you're like, bring a lot of awareness to it, like um, breaking. I'm living on the other side of the fourth wall. If you do that, nobody else is doing that, and so it's important to offer things that other people don't offer. But awareness is one of those things that I swear to God about awareness, that I wanted to make more points about the bullshit, but I guess I don't remember everything about it. But you can't always get what you want. No, you can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes. Anyway, awareness is a problem. But I was listening to NFL broadcasts, and Greg Olson, the previous tight end, the famous and previous tight end Greg Olson, who this is not my favorite broadcaster. He said he was talking about how so much about life is about self-awareness. And he said it in passing, like setting up a statement that he was saying after that. Like, you know how so much in life is about self-awareness, and then he went into something else. But this is, I want to bring this up here to talk about self-awareness. Let's start a dialogue about it. Let's get into that dialogue. Let's start the dialogue. Let's start the dialogue about self-awareness, which is that wokeness, the woke mind virus, and self-awareness. That's what characterizes the time period that we're in. Is self-awareness and wokeness are very similar things, but you see what arises across very many people is they're saying that same thing about self-awareness. Like, self-awareness is so important. This is like a fad over the last decade, but especially the last 5 years, popularly speaking. But I mean, it's only increasing in popularity. People realizing the need for self-awareness, or like people becoming aware of self-awareness. It's the same thing as wokeness. Oh, I'm awake now. You see that the word woke is used a lot, especially wokeness and self-awareness. But I'm saying that that's for woke people. That is not that great of an idea or of a concept. It is when you first realize it, but I'm here to tell you that I've already moved beyond self-awareness. I've realized the need for self-awareness years and years ago. Probably at least 15 years ago. How old am I now? 31. Probably 15 years ago, I realized self-awareness is an important thing, and then I moved beyond that, and that's how smart that I am. But the world doesn't really want a smart guy anymore. The youth doesn't care about smart. That's why we have Sexy Red and others. But Sexy Red is about bringing the stupid into pop music, among other things. But the education system is collapsing. Students, as far as I know, not that I really know this particular part of it, but students seem to disrespect their teachers more and more as the years go on. But the government's ability to supply like valid education and fund it the right way, they're becoming less and less efficient doing that, just that it is like a government program, and the government is going to shit, which you see because they're like $36 trillion in debt, and these are the people that initiate finances for the entire country. They're $36 trillion in debt. They are worse with their finances than pretty much all of us, any one of us. But they're the ones that tell us that we need to give them money every year, give them taxes, whatever. They're the worst with money. If they're an individual entity, like a person like you or I, they would be the worst with money of any person in the nation. But somehow, in a very backwards way, they're the people that dictate money, how money is supposed to go, and they decide our currency is based on that. But the government, I'm saying the government is just getting worse and worse. That's the point I'm saying. They're getting more and more inefficient. And they're the heads of the Department of Education or whatever. Education is a government-run department, and that's not getting any better. But education is collapsing, but it should anyway, because information is becoming more ubiquitous, and information that you actually want, that you can actually apply, is right online, and you can get it more efficiently online or on YouTube. Individuals create that information, whatever, and individuals consume that information the stuff that they want to hear, not mathematics, not these like seven, especially for lower level grades like elementary, the basic ones, history, science, math. Like, it's not, the world is not about these seven standard subjects. That's totally unrealistic. And that's why ultimately education is collapsing. Maybe you haven't realized that. I don't have evidence for it because all the schools are still here. But I'm telling you that, look, but more importantly than that, I'm telling you. So, and now you have somebody to blame in case you want to take them like, oh, that's what I heard, but I heard it from this guy. But it's just now, blame me. But I only get blame if if I'm a bigger, if I'm more famous, if I'm a source for the information. Um, like, what makes me a valid source for the information? It's like authority, right? Or that's what it's supposed to be. And like, I'm a podcaster. Look at the authority I have over podcasting. So if you believe in podcasters, I have authority there. Look at all the podcast episodes I made. But it's really like the world will tell you that it's run by authority. It's not. It's not like that. I have thought about recently. I realized it would be naive of me to carry on thinking people have to listen to me because I have authority. As much as they want to deny that I have authority, not just in podcasting, just in general. The things that I talk about are things that I have authority over. I could explain to you if you cared to ask me any questions about it. People don't really ask me questions about this podcast. They don't. I think because they want to ignore it, or they want to act like I don't know what I'm talking about. Because if they ask questions, they would figure out that I have very many reasons for all the things that I say, and a lot of it I have authority over. But it would be naive of me to say, like, you have to listen to me because I have authority. Because ultimately, that's not how the world runs. It's kind of more like, if people like you, that's when they listen to you. That's really what it's about. It's a popularity contest, ultimately. People don't want to go so far as to say that. The movie Little Miss Sunshine is entirely, the significance of it is entirely based around that one statement. The world is a bunch of popularity contests. That's why that movie is so meaningful to people and why it's Oscar nominated. Like, oh, this is an important message that's being said, Little Miss Sunshine. It's a movie that is criticizing popularity contests. This is really one of the main criticisms that you could bring to light, that you could give words to, is this problem popularity contest, because that's what it is. It's not really, the world says it's like, oh, we listen to the authorities, we listen to who we like. That's why Donald Trump gets elected president when he has no years being a politician. That's why, I mean, especially nowadays, that's just what comes to pass. Like, you make connections, you get big, you get famous, not because of your authority, because of people you know that like you and give you the spot, you know? So only if people like you will you gain more power and recognizability and undeniability. Your power is undeniability. My power is my undeniability. That's my strength. So I get stronger the more you can't deny me. The truth of me. But like, it's a lot of, I just gotta stay on that train. A lot of thoughts running through my head. But it's just like, people want to, make it that people could write me off or anybody off through criticism. And so I made an episode or two about criticism specifically on this podcast. And I don't know why I do that, but it's what I realized recently is that in order to make connections, in the secular world, which is a world that I have not lived in long enough to be like, oh, this is familiar to me. This is where I feel comfortable. I've transitioned into the secular life, and it's hard for me to accept that has even happened, and it's hard for me to accept that reality is even happening. But what I like to go back to is that, well, what if I just died, and then I wouldn't have to worry about any of this? And so that's my awareness that I'm going to die, my ability to believe that and understand that I am so finite, gives me power to keep moving. Um, Not having a belief in an eternal afterlife helps, certainly. That is a lot to take on for a person, but people do it, and then they're like, I mean, it's a whole, I devoted my entire soul or whatever. Um, I go by, this life is all that is important that is happening. It's not like, I think that if you do enough positive things, you'll have chips to cash in for for my next life. For my next life, I might be able to set it up the way I want if I do enough good, if I do the right things here. Um, I don't know what that entails, what that means. It doesn't mean, I don't mean like if I make enough money here or whatever, that I will have that for the next life. I just mean like, I don't know. If I'm not like a murderer, then I might have a better chance of setting up my next life more positively. Or, I mean, but like, what I realize is that is the importance of manipulating other human beings and using them, because that's what happens in the world. Like the Christian church maybe would be horrified at that idea. Like in the Christian world that I used to live in, that's a horrifying idea, and that's what I understood is like, don't manipulate other people. But it's like the popularity contest that is the world is just like you manipulating humans. Like all of the people that are guests on Kill Tony that get that big, those comedians, podcasters that get that famous, especially in that industry, especially in comedy, where it's just kind of like you talk your way to the top. Um, it's those people, the system rewards the people who manipulate other humans really well. And so that's a real big flaw in our system, is that all the people that you see that rise to the surface and gain all of the notoriety are the people that are like manipulating other humans the best to get there. I like that's what popularity is all about. That's what the connections, that's what, like getting liked by people and whatever. It's just kind of like a big manipulation-a-thon. And um, it's not, the world is run by, like, I'm saying that you would think authority is maybe the ultimate thing you could describe. That's what I used to think. Authoritarianism is the thing that runs the world. It is almost, but you're being naive if you are trying to, trying to make it that there's always some thing that makes it that you are the authority or whatever. Like saying it goes on off of authority isn't the most accurate or most efficient way of describing it. It's more like who gets the most likes, especially in today's world. It's really just about who gets liked. But people, I make an episode about criticism because maybe that means that you have to listen to me, because not that I would have known that when I make the episode. It's just like, you know how people criticize you and they judge you, they so that they don't have to listen to you, so they don't have the responsibility of listening to you. But if I come out and say all of you are just coming up with criticisms to not listen to me or not ask me any questions about the thing I'm doing over here on this podcast, because I do that plenty to everybody else. I don't know if it's too much. Maybe I have a problem doing it. Coming up with judgments so that I can write them off and not have to listen to them. Of course we do that, right? I mean, just in your head or whatever. You don't have to say it to them, but it's just like, oh, that guy is that person, that lady, that woman, they're just a dork. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just dumb. They're just too sensitive. That person's an idiot. Anything that, like, if somebody is saying something you don't like or don't understand, it's important to come up with a judgment so that you don't have to like pay attention. But if I'm like, all of you are just coming up with criticisms to not have to listen to me, now I want the responsibility, you know? Not that it works that way. Not that I am successful at it necessarily. I'm sequencing words together to get you to listen to more of it, you know? This sentence will maybe catch your ear, and then you'll be like, oh, this is intriguing, and it's but but I'm saying, like, criticism, if my criticism to you, to everybody coming up with judgments to make it so that they don't have any responsibility to listen to me, my criticism is you're coming with criticisms, what do you have after that to defend yourself? Because, like, ask me a question. The thing about Christianity is, like, they don't ever have to defend anything about the thing that they've devoted their entire souls to, and you can make fun of it. Like, I can make an episode criticizing Christianity and share it, and Christians don't have to say anything in response to it because their religion is so big, too big to fail, really. It's really just like a giant subsidized government program. It's a government. I'd say it's bigger than the government, Christianity, but they don't have to answer for the thing they devoted their soul to. They'll say, like, oh, be prepared to give an answer. You never have to, because you already have, Christianity already has like 1 point however many, I want to say like 1.7 billion people corroborating their story, so your story is always straight. Here's a more positive or interesting thing to say about Christians, which is that they are very woke. The modern day Christians are so woke, and they're really into that self-awareness shit. But Greg Olson is a hack. He's a jock, and he's not that smart. But same as Taylor Luwan and Will Compton, bussing with the boys. They're the boys, at least the ones that ride in a bus. The boys that you get bussed around with, the bussin' boys. But good on them for coming with the word bussin'. I think, generally speaking, before it became widespreadly popular, because they weren't exactly meaning what bussin' is usually used as. But good on them for good on them for their success. But the boys, these are people that think that they have something to say, but I feel like those two people also fall into the woke category just based on the way that they carry themselves. Same as Greg Olson's attitude. There's just this attitude of wokeness, which is kind of like the woke mind virus. This attitude of, like, these people that think that they've figured everything out when they are just speaking in simple terms. The woke mind virus has to do with simplicity, and adherence to simplicity, a rediscovering of simplicity. Actually, it's the simple values that matter, which is the same as what happens in church. Adherence to Christ and the Bible is the simple way of doing it. They make it pretty simple for you in the church. Like, worship Christ, It's not complicated. The Jesus, the Christian world, it's purposefully not complicated. And voting for that with your life is a vote for dumbness, I would say. It's a vote for simplicity. We're not going to get into all that, because the whole attitude that everybody has is woke right now. That's what the woke mind virus is. It's don't listen to my whole mission statement. This podcast is like everybody's worst. Everybody hates that more than anything. Like the Aaron Rodgers attitude, that narcissism is okay. Or like, oh, you might speak about aliens or things that sound like nonsense, that sound like bullshit. Like, everyone's like, we don't want any more nonsense, And that's really just, we want dumbness. We want simplicity. We don't want to have to think about the things that make us have to think and might make us worry about something and might make us feel uncertain. We don't want to have to be adventurous. We want to have an excuse to stay at home. And that's the whole thing that goes along with no more nonsense. It's just people being fucking lazy. And wokeness, but like this self-righteousness that comes along with it. I'm saying the modern day Christianity is all woke. They're woke. And I know that it's like supposed to be understood to describe liberals. First of all, Christians are not really conservative all the time. It's so like both of them. Christians are conservative and liberal, and Christians are conservative and liberal, really. But wokeness goes beyond conservative or liberal. It's conservatives are the woke right now because it's the conservatives that are self-aware, that are telling you all of the things that are you need to be aware about, like for real, like the real shit. The conservatives are the ones telling you that, like, oh, don't act like a clown. You can't act like a fool. I mean, it's a lot of just going against gayness, going against things that are surprising, things that are out there. We're supposed to be against that kind of stuff that's unique, that has its own character. It's an adherence to the community, and communism ultimately is the woke mind virus. And Christians are all communists. They're socialists. That's why I'm saying they're not just conservatives. Conservatives are individualists, or they're supposed to be, and liberals are more like for the good of the community. And whoever it is, Christians or not, there's a lot of wokeness, and but it's like the self-awareness is all from like the conservatives that are like, oh, you can't have all these sins in your life because that makes you look like an idiot, and everyone hates porn now. All of a sudden, everybody hates drinking, and everybody hates smoking weed. And it was like in 2019, it looked like we were about to tip the scales in the complete opposite direction of that, where we were all like, it seemed like we were all about to be okay with all of the drugs. And then something strange happened after in wake of the pandemic, where this adherence to simplicity and dumbness and don't do any drugs or foreign drugs, all those people are losers. All of a sudden, this huge swing back into conservatism like it's the beginning of the 80s. Very surprising. And I don't care if it's reflected in the elections or not. For I know that in the 2022 elections, it's not like the conservatives won a bunch of seats or anything, even though I'm saying that's the direction we're headed, is a conservative direction. I don't know if Kamala Harris is going to win or Donald Trump is going to win. I think that what I'm going to do is not vote. I would vote for Trump, I'll be honest with you. But I'm not going to vote because the reason I'd vote for Trump is because they're doing a bad job. Like the Biden administration, don't bus in a bunch of Haitians into Springfield. That fucks up their whole community that's been there for over 100 years. Don't bus in 20,000 Haitians to Springfield, bussing with the boys, bussing with the Haitians into Springfield. Because, like, it sucks for the people that live there because they have to deal with all these Haitians. Like, don't be racist against Haitian immigrants. But it's like, and all those Haitians are just going to make their way to Columbus anyway. I would guess over time, because Columbus is the biggest metro area that Springfield is close to. But there's some shit going on in that area that is interesting. The Springfield area, because there's the John Patton Air Force Base, which is like one of the most prominent Air Force bases in the country. I don't know where it ranks, but it's like, it's rumored to house alien material. Like it's that high profile of a base that it's one of those that is secrets rumored about it. But it's an important military standard. Right in Springfield, and then they bust in all those Haitians. But Dave Chappelle lives in Yellow Springs. That's just 15 minutes away. And so, therefore, that is an interesting area. It must be. Dave Chappelle lives nearby. But he opened up a comedy club, and we're all hoping that there's an open mic there so we can go to open mic at the Firehouse, Dave Chappelle's comedy club. But I did stand up in Yellow Springs on Monday. What's today? Wednesday. On Monday night at a bar. And Dave Chappelle wasn't there. But he doesn't go to open mics at the bars in Springfield. I think it was the Trail Tavern. But did stand up there, I feel like go to Yellow Springs as much as possible, because that's our way out of here as the Columbus comedy scene. It's Dave Chappelle. It's probably the most interesting. Dave Chappelle is nearby, so something's gonna happen, maybe. Um, and so otherwise, I don't know why I didn't move to Austin already. There's a lot more opportunity. There's a lot more opportunities there, but um, because um, but wokeness and whatever else. But the Springfield and so why am I voting for Donald Trump? Whatever. Forget about it. I don't think I'm gonna vote, but I don't like. No, well, it's just the immigrants. Like, there's too many. Whatever's going on in Aurora, Colorado, that they all of the Venezuelan, I think, or is it Colombian or something? All of the criminals from Venezuela by the thousands that are making their way in here just because the Biden administration wants Democrats to vote or whatever, and or they just want community. They're like, the world should just be one giant community, so it doesn't fucking matter if we destroy our borders. But that's the same thing as there goes the dollar. But like, obviously you vote for Trump because fucking inflation went explosion over the last 4 years. You have to. Why would you? You look at how much you have to pay for groceries. Wouldn't you vote for somebody who might possibly change that? Kamala Harris ain't gonna do shit. It's gonna get worse, and we're gonna have to be paying like. It could be double what we're paying now by the time her next 4 years is done. And now all of a sudden I'm just back into that political thing I was just maligning, like, oh, the lazy people that fall into that. We all resort back to our animalistic, whatever it is, tribalism. It's just like modern day warfare is just college football games. It's college football because the U.S. doesn't actually World War whatever is not going to happen that same way that we're ever going to like put ground troops in. I know that they have ground troops in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. There's so many reasons to not like the Democrats, and so many reasons. I have no idea why anybody would vote Democrat. Not like. I really don't. Because everything they say that they are is a lie. I guess just because people think they really want equality. I don't know. I'm sorry about this political. I'm so sorry about it. I have a really good heart, and it's my good heart that allows me to keep going, but it's just that like wokeness and self-awareness, and the yes, another thing that I wanted to bring up was that Shane Gillis makes this point. He does a bit about he has a brother or cousin or something that has Down syndrome. I think he has a sibling that has Down syndrome or something. And his sibling, he's like, oh, people with Down syndrome are doing pretty fucking great, actually, if you've ever seen them, because they're like so happy all the time. They are so happy. And he just brings up that point, but I wanted to expand off of that and say how retarded people are happy like that. Not all the time, but people with low IQ are happier. People with higher IQs are all miserable. Like people in the rat race or whatever. I mean, people that realize that we're just trapped in a human body are a lot sadder. It has to do with that there's a cap at some point that smart people realize that, well, the world is going to limit your ability to have fun because things get really serious. Things get serious when you start hitting the ceiling, whatever the ceiling is, that's capping you and your ability to have fun. It's gayness is sort of what it is. That's the societal thing. That's like what people put pressure on you to not be gay. They police you to not be gay. Um, they police you to, and I'm just saying, fit in with the norm. Be on form, perform. You have to do it, and I really question the integrity of the word performance when you break it down and it is performing something. Where per is a word for 100% or like all the way through, like the same as 1 quart per 2 pints. It's that's all the way through. 100% of 1 quart is 2 pints. So one per the thing. But per as a prefix, per, is that same meaning. It's a 100% perfect, whatever. Per attached to things is that. Performance, as far as I can tell, is you're talking about you have to do the thing per form, you know? So what is form in the thing that you're describing is the question, is why I'm questioning the integrity of it. Like, it's not that you have to. What's the form? The form is just subjective. So you can perform without it being to the most popular standard of the thing that you are trying to take the form of. So it's okay to still call it a performance, but also recognize that the form that you need to take for the task that you're performing is, it's ultimately subjective if you allow yourself leniency with regard to performance. And then you will not have as much performance anxiety when you realize that it's not like, don't make it that the form is the greatest standard available. You don't have to meet that every time. I guess it would be ideal if you did. But you might appeal to a niche audience. That might be who you are at all. It's just somebody who's alternative. It's not the most popular message. So you're a performer, but you're still a performer. Because it is per somebody's form, just not necessarily the mainstream standard of the form that people want to see you do when you perform the task. And what I was saying was, before I went on this about performance, is that retarded people are happy. It's like lower IQ, you have that opportunity, but it's the same with cats and dogs. Not to be crass. Whatever, retarded people are like dogs. I mean, they kind of are. They're like, it's not like that. It's just like dogs are so happy because they don't have to deal with the misery of like knowing too much. And cats are the same way. You might say that cats are very mean, whatever, they're not happy. I've seen a lot of cats. My family had cats growing up. I've never seen a cat live a sad life. They're all satisfied to be who they are. They're just doing things that they want. They don't have any existential problems, the cats. They're happy. The animals are happy like this because they're not running into a ceiling, whereas where society has, where they realize, like, oh, you can't go past this point, it'll be impossible because society and the people around me, my peers, are policing me to not be so far in this direction as to, because they're worried about you. They don't want you to be isolated or whatever, and do things outside of societal norms, outside of the forms that you're supposed to take. And people get really legalistic about performances. I would say religions do, because people who have their story straight are at liberty, which are the people that narrate things. And I would say that Christianity narrates the world story more than any other religion. That's an opinion that you can listen to other episodes of and hear me back that up. But religions, people who already have their story straight, are at liberty to criticize performances and hold you to the best form that you're supposed to be performing to, and then say that you are not a performer if you're not up to that. People who have their story straight are can be very critical of performances. Contemporary Christian music is shitty. they don't make they don't make they don't make the realest of performers, um, because they troll performances. Christians troll performances they're trolls. The music that they make is a troll on music. It's a fake. It's a criticized version of music, because they they criticize world performances. They criticize the idea that the world is a stage. That's horrible to them. And that new Joker movie is like folie à deux. The tagline is like the world is a stage. This is a emerging concept that people are realizing. It has to do with the deterioration of Hollywood, and that acting is given to all of us. It's a realization that we are all actors. That's why we don't perceive the actors to be very important, or acting as a skill to be as important as we did 15 years ago. It has to do with the awareness that we are all receiving about that we are all actors. And Christianity resents that the idea that the world is a stage, and they are some of the leaders in resenting this movie. I haven't seen it. I'm not saying it's good or anything, but people are going to hate it. They already don't want to accept what the original Joker was saying. They resent that idea. They resent Aaron Rodgers. Wow. It's so crazy how everybody hates Aaron Rodgers just because he took a drug that is threatening to religions. There's like, you're not supposed to take drugs that would put you on some plane that is not the default plane that all of us are on, because the plane that we're all on is governed by religion, or it is at least governed, and it is not anarchy like you enter into when you start deciding that you're going to understand what ayahuasca is like or whatever. That is anarchy in comparison to the vibe that you are normally breathing in, the drug that you're normally intoxicated by. It's because people have grown accustomed to the drugs that they're already on, and they superstitiously stand over them and resort back to them for comfort and certainty. And that's what being saved by the Savior is all about. Going to a safe place so that you are safe for all of your life, and you're good. Your story is straight, and that's what people want. And they resent anybody saying, "Hey, let's possibly enter into a completely different world." It's just funny, the hatred for that, and like, it's so accepted, the hatred, the standing against it. Like, people are so self-righteous and superstitious, the standing over things, to stand in hatred against alternative drugs or whatever. And so it's like, no, we all hate Aaron Rodgers because even though he has accomplished whatever, he has the authority in these areas that it's like, we would like anybody else who does it. We're not going to shit on them just because he has things to say otherwise. And it's not like he's throwing them in your face. It's not his fault he gets accepted onto Joe Rogan. Like, he goes on there and he's going to go on the Joe Rogan Experience exists. And so, the same as ayahuasca, these things exist, and people want it so badly to be that they don't. The same as the Packers fans that want it so badly to be that Aaron Rodgers isn't the greatest Packer in all of Packers history. They wish so much that it wasn't that. Like that Aaron Rodgers didn't exist or something. It's like, why does he have to exist in this reality? Can't we all... It's just the same thing as, like, we're going to get rid of racism. Like, we're not going to stop until racism is 100% eradicated. And that's never going to happen as long as there are different races, because communication exists, and we can see that there are different races as long as we come up with that word to describe it. That doesn't make it evil, that people can bring to light differences in race. I'm telling you, racism will always be there. It's just like, obviously make it fun and make it funny. You see the New York comedy scene climate is going in a direction of making racism funny again. You see that on SNL. They're not taking this very serious approach to race like they did for maybe 15 years or so when I was growing up. There, in recent years, they put out these skits that are like, oh, race is funny again, like it was in the 90s and early 2000s, before Obama showed up and decided to make it this big, heated thing. Um, like, and I'm sorry that the conservatism is coming through so much for me in this episode, but uh, like racism is gonna exist. It's just like it's not. It's actually funny when all of the race jokes that Dave Chappelle does and that a lot of comedians do, and people you see crowds of people across the country laughing at. It's actually racism is actually kind of funny. Um, so, and I'm saying like comparing different races, saying this race does this race does this is like a little bit. There is light. Why not shed light on those things? You don't. Why do people want to cover them up? And so there's different drugs. There's different planes of reality to be on. There's different realities. It's not all one reality. People want it to be so fucking much that we are all in one giant communist state, essentially. That's what the woke mind virus is. That's what we're in right now. That's everybody hating Aaron Rodgers online. Is like we all have to be in one reality. Simplicity. We're all supposed... No more nonsense, where we all know that this is what we know and whatever. No more bullshit. People living in some unique way, expressing unique sequences of words or whatever, having too much of a vocabulary, sounding intelligent. And it's just hatred towards intelligence. Or people that... and acting like people are going so far out of their way to be intelligent. Acting like there aren't intelligent people. Acting like we're all the same level of intelligence. It's just... It's dictated to us by dumb people. It's just a bunch of dumb people that get the say to say, now we all have to be dumb and like, if you're being smart, you're just lying. That's nonsense. It's bullshit. Stop with the complexity. Everybody knows that life is simple and stupid and none of us are important and we shouldn't go around saying like you have something to say, like we're all individuals. So that can go on even... And I think it's like a regardless of conservative or liberal thing, this thing that I'm describing, it's just wokeness. And wokeness is for conservatives and liberals. It's this idea that, oh, we're so smart for being self-aware enough to know that, that nobody knows anything or whatever. And so, like... Intelligence is just that. It's the recognition that there are different levels of knowledge that of people IQs. People are different levels of smartness. It's not because some people were given the opportunity and some weren't. Education is a bunch of bullshit anyway. And that's why it's collapsing. It's because we have the knowledge. Knowledge isn't mathematics. It's as decided by the US government or whatever. I'm saying this is like a prediction. I mean, this is just a futurist. You can see the trajectory of things. Education is collapsing. The youth doesn't care about a smart guy. It has to do with they see the flaws in the education system and they are very cynical about it, rightfully so. Especially when you have the internet, and the internet actually gives you knowledge that you want. That you can apply, that is real. Mathematics is increasingly bullshit. Education is increasingly bullshit. The idea that you need to sit and be taught lessons by people that know the lessons. They don't know the lessons. They went to an institution that gave them institutional beliefs on how to dispense institutional knowledge, and institutional practices. Education is just the idea that, well, we need to go and learn because, social media gives you the ability to connect. People should really have to learn how to connect to each other outside of the education system. That's the thing that it is best for. Anyway, that's the greatest benefit that it brings, is that it brings everybody together. But I would argue it's a flawed system because it makes you dependent on getting to know people in this, well, we're all going to school because that's already been mandated. So we didn't have to do anything to achieve going to school. There's really not any initiation you have to do. There's no sacrifices you have to make to enter that club that much besides like go there, but it's already mandated. It's like illegal not to. And so it is mandated that you have this way of getting to know people. And like college is good for that too. That's like the benefit of college is just the friends that you make there, the social aspects of it. But I would say that ultimately you don't need education to do that, and actually it is challenges people better, and people will be a better society. Will be more communicative if we have to make all of those connections on our own from a young age, rather than you're dependent on the school system, and then once that spits you out, once you're out of college, oh, now it's really hard to make friends for everybody, and that's what everybody says about it. And it's like, oh, it seemed like all of the meaningful parts of life was just in the beginning. That has to do with what the education system provides as sheltering for, like, this is where your social life is, and then outside of that, it's just there's a stark contrast between that and then you go out into the world, and then you really have to find you really have to work for all of your connections. When you have to work, when they put you out into the working world, there is too much a divide between the education and then the working world. Like when you get spit out into the working world, I mean, that's what The Graduate, that movie speaks to it, the bleakness of being spit out into the working world, because now you have to work for all of your connections. In school, they're handed to you. But anyway, it's dumbness is kind of arising, and that has to do with that smartness is already kind of the superficial idea. Maybe we've had too much emphasis on smartness. It is like artificially, this is being mandated. This is being infused into society, like government, decided by the government, that we have to have whatever. But cats ain't lived a sad life, and what I'm saying is, it has to do with happiness. The word gay and happy and something. There's a limiting effect that occurs, I would say, with the relationship between the word gay and the word happy, where for very many years, like all of history up until 60 years ago, people are using the word gay to mean happy. And then 60 years ago, the gay community usurped it, or whatever. You slurped it. And something happened. I mean, it's the gay community, and then it's the people perceiving the gay community as well are responsible in making it that gay is not happy anymore. It's just being gay. And that is limiting to happiness. But what I'm talking about is happiness. This is the cap, where it's like you can't be too happy. It's like being crazy. You can't be too happy. You're being wild. You're being weird. You're being outside of societal norms. It's happiness is like the same thing. This is the cap that makes everybody sad if you're not retarded. Like if you're smart enough, you run into the fact that your happiness should be limited. And if you're like a crazy person like me, people kind of resent your happiness, is what I find. They don't, if I get too happy, people just start asking all these questions. They're like, or they want to blame it on a drug that society has said you shouldn't be on that because you're one of those people that does that and it's making you gay. I mean, it's making you happy. Like it's making you, I'm using gay as like when you are transcending societal expectations too much. Maybe you're going beyond performing. I'm not to a form or whatever. You're like, I don't have to be, because all of that is subjective, the form that I'm supposed to be. And yeah, if I get too happy, people don't like it, in my experience. So it's not about like your happiness, you know? It's not about like just do what makes you happy. Just try to find happiness. Because you have to still fit in with society. No, like if I start to get happy, not everybody doesn't like it. Some people like it, but people be like, "Oh, what's wrong with you? Is everything all right? Are you okay?" You need to warn me to go back into okay a little bit. To go back into things that are to be expected of you a little bit. Like don't be why are you being so crazy? Happiness is like craziness. Like that person turned happy or whatever, and Now they're gone. They're too far gone. So I just wanted to make that comparison between people and animals, or whatever, and that you see, animals are all dumb, like low IQ, and so they're happy all the time because they're not. I don't know. Animals are really gay like that, but people, you run into whatever is like the thing that we're all supposed to not cross. And so there was one other thing that I was going to say, which is that, oh, I guess I didn't really get to it. So I guess I'm really just talking about wokeness. I'll save the other idea for later. Had to do with randomness and bad luck and randomness. Cringe, like random might be the new cringe. Because that's what people don't like, is like, or that's what they say is cringe, is somebody being too much on their own shit about something, like doing something in an self-acknowledging way, doing something that draws attention to you, just like we didn't want to give you the attention or whatever. So it turns out I'm talking about wokeness, and the new wokeness is it's sort of like don't sin is what it feels like to me. It's not social justice warriorism anymore. It's like fresh to be conservative. That's the new. It's like you're woke. It's actually woke is like, oh, it's better to not sin. It's better to not be addicted to porn, or like that's a evil. That's talked about as an evil publicly. Just in the world in general is a lot more than it's the same, has been like that since the 80s. We swung back to be conservative, and it's just kind of like, it's like progressive to be woke, not sinning, but it's a progressive thing. It's just, it characterizes the time period. Wokeness characterizes the time period we're living in, where everybody's like, oh, we've awoken. So there's something significant about that, just objectively, regardless of political implications of it. Like wokeness and self-awareness, that we're giving a lot of speech to those two ideas, shows that maybe we have come to a point as humans where like, oh, we awoke from something, like we've woken up, and but I don't know that it's anything more than just a specific concept, a specific like fad that characterizes the time period or not. Like especially if it's like it can't be negative all the time, but it feels like a negative to me. Like it really just feels like self-righteousness, wokeness. Like I'm awake. It seems like something that people hold over other people, but nobody wants to be classified as woke up right now still, even though it's like conservatives were hating liberals for being woke, but now the conservatives are woke. They wouldn't want to be called woke either, but I think that you can criticize them for that. But like, is it a criticism always? I don't know. It probably shouldn't be. You'd think it would be good at some point, like, oh, we woke up, but or is it just kind of like we were already awake, and saying that you are is like just saying that you have something that other people don't. I mean, basically, I don't think conservatives realize that they're the woke yet, but we can say that they are. But I would say that everybody is. Let me go one further. Like, wokeness is a. Like, you don't want to stop at woke. You gotta rise above it. Go to even higher levels of self-awareness or whatever it is, and go beyond woke to be even more woke. Here's a couple steps past woke, which is that here's an idea. Everybody is already Jesus. Everybody has a relationship to him based on that he's like he's the czar of time for the world. We already have a relationship to him. I think that everybody is Jesus. Everybody should see that in themselves. You don't have to keep trying to be Jesus. That's pedantic. Like being like Jesus, you don't need to. I think everybody already arrived. And the idea that you have to go somewhere to be like Jesus, I'd say, is a money grab. That the church is telling you this is where Jesus exists, is within these walls. We've captured the feelings and the vibe of Jesus in here. I think that Jesus is everywhere for everybody. Everybody already has a relationship to him. And ultimately, all of us are already Jesus. And that's like a high level of wokeness. That's really, I mean, it's just about like, I'm ahead of you. I'm woke. I woke up, if you're, but I don't know why it's always like a negative, because probably just because of the superiority related to it. Um, so that's a superiority complex issue that I'm like, oh, everybody is Jesus, including me. Most people don't get to that point where they're like, you should already see yourself as being that. Don't be Jesus, whatever. You already are. We already made it, and we already made it, and I it's great to be back on this podcast and whatever. Thanks for listening in, guys, and talk to you all on some later date. Goodbye.